Resilience is more than just a buzzword. It's the cornerstone of entrepreneurship. In fact, research from LinkedIn reveals that 92% of founders rank resilience as the number one requirement for success in business. In this episode, I had the opportunity to sit down with serial entrepreneur and my friend Garr Russell, whose journey is anything but ordinary. He had a failed business in 5th grade. He ran a drug house and rebuilt his life after bankruptcy. Not to mention launching a award-winning credit counseling company. His story is one of radical transformation. Today, he fancies himself as the chief fire starter at Fireside RV Rental and the visionary behind the nation's first RV rental management franchise. He opens up about what it really takes to rebuild your life from rock bottom, lead with purpose, and navigate the unpredictable world of entrepreneurship. Along the way, he shares lessons about homeschooling his 4 kids on the road, leading teams across multiple states, and how life's biggest setbacks can become the foundation for your biggest breakthroughs. We also dive into his new book, My Real Estate Story. From lawnmowers to RVs, it's a powerful memoir filled with raw honesty and hard-earned wisdom and unwavering faith. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a dreamer, or someone searching through purpose through adversity, this conversation will challenge and inspire you to keep going, no matter where you are on your journey. And Russell joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Well, first and foremost, my friend, I want to welcome you to the program and wish you a happy Thursday. And it's great to see you, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man. Happy Thursday to you, too.
Absolutely. So, my friend, I wanted to start our conversation by asking you about your journey, my friend, because I know it's been a winding and unpredictable road for you, my friend, and it hasn't been a linear path. So I'm wondering if we can start our conversation by you telling me what makes you so fabulous, my friend, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, man, that's the short answer is Jesus. The long answer is just keeping hope and continuing on and learning from life. You know, I always love to say you're never losing, you're always learning. And so just keeping that hope, keep moving on, take what you learn into the next situation and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that your business journey started when you asked your dad about business planning and when you were at a young age, and it sort of lit a fire under you from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So I'm wondering if you could tell me about that, buddy.
Yeah, that started, I always say that the gifts and callings of God are without repentance. There's gifts that are inside of us from the day that we're born. And my gift was, I had ideas to start a business. And I went and I asked my dad for some money to buy some lawnmowers, and he kind of blew me off a little bit. You know, he's like, "Lawnmowers? What do you need lawnmowers for? There's only one of you." And I said, "Well, because my buddies are going to push lawnmowers around, and I'm going to go out and get me some accounts." And so it was a little bit of a letdown there when my dad kind of blew me off like that wasn't a good idea or I was being lazy. And but God used it all to circle back and help turn me into the entrepreneur that I am today.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. And tell me about a Fireside RV Rental, buddy, because I know it's a transformative business idea and allows people the freedom to travel with the amenities of an RV, my friend. So tell me all about a Fireside RV Rental and what makes it so fabulous, buddy.
Yeah, Fireside RV Rental, that was kind of our paid to purpose business. It started, I bought my wife an RV for our 10-year wedding anniversary, and she was pregnant with number 4, 7 months pregnant. And we have the RV. We're set up at a campground in Grand Haven, Michigan. And she just decided, man, I am pregnant. I'm miserable. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I'm going home. And so she went home, and there I was with the older 2 kids. And I thought, all right, now I got this RV. My wife don't want to be in an RV. I'm going to rent this thing out. So I put it up on Craigslist for rent. And man, lo and behold, people started to reach out to me wanting to rent the RV. And it literally went from there, one thing to the next. Rented a couple friends' campers out for them as well, too. And fast forward to today, we're the nation's only RV rental management franchise with about 70 locations around the country.
Absolutely. And tell me, since you've come up with such a clever business model, tell me about the competitive advantages it offers the business when people are looking to rent RVs, my friend.
Yeah, the cool thing about our business model is it's other people's assets or really other people's liabilities that are just sitting around doing nothing. So we're able to be a blessing to people and rent out their RVs for them. So literally take something that is sitting around doing nothing and turn it into a revenue stream for them and have a business for our franchisees to earn some money as well. So it's really cool how it all worked out with that. And really the third piece to it is we get to send families camping and experience the outdoors, even though they don't have an RV. So it's pretty cool how it works on all angles.
Yeah, absolutely. And Garr, I'm wondering your thoughts on the whole concept of business resilience, because I know you had to rebuild your life from bankruptcy, and that your business journey, as I mentioned off the top, hasn't always been linear, my friend. So tell me about your thoughts on the importance of business resilience and what does that mean to you, my friend?
Yeah, for sure. Like most other successful entrepreneurs, it doesn't come without, the ups and downs and the different hardships that you go through. And I always love to say you're winning or you're learning. It's never a loss if you take a situation and you figure out, okay, what can I extract from this? Or like, Napoleon Hill says, a seed of equivalent advantage. What can I take from this situation to learn to come back and be a better marketer, to be a better communicator, to be better with my books, to be better with, whatever the case is. And so if you're able to do that and continue on, one thing that they say, the Small Business Administration says is 50% of first-time businesses fail. But another statistic that's not shared that often is 80% of those first-time businesses that fail, they don't try again. They don't open a second business. They go back and they work for somebody else in their business. Why? Because they think, I must have not had what it takes. And no, it's just you were learning. It was part of a process, right? Thomas Edison over 10,000 times tries to perfect the light bulb. It's a process, and once you realize that entrepreneurship is a process of learning, of going from mistake or mishap or failure to failure. But as long as you don't quit, if you don't quit, you win. So continue on, take that next chance, try that next thing, and watch what'll happen. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gar, what's your thoughts on the whole concept of learning on the fly, or trying to construct a business from learning on the fly, my friend? And also, talk to me about embracing, life's challenges and trusting that they'll lead you to the best opportunities, both in business and in life, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's always a learning process. So again, just keeping that in mind, it's you make a decision, the decision either pays off financially or it doesn't. It pays off more in the school of life, right? You'll learn a lesson. But the biggest thing is continue to take action, continue to make quick decisions and massive action, knowing that as you do that, as you move forward, you're going to figure out quicker, okay, does this work or does it not work? One of my favorite proverbs in the Bible is Proverbs 14:23. It says, "In all labor there is profit," and I love that because it's saying, "Hey, if you take action, if you put to labor, there's going to be a profit. The profit might be financial. The profit might be you learn something, but in all labor there is profit." So the work that you're doing, it's going to work on you, it's going to refine you as a person and make you better, or it's going to work for you, and there's going to be a result of the business is going to grow, a financial return. But the biggest thing we have to do is we have to continue to take massive action, move forward, shake off the losses, and no, it's not a loss, it's a learning, and just continue moving. If we get stuck in that analysis paralysis and we're not moving forward, that's the most detrimental thing right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, Gar, how do you think accountability and taking action in business are interconnected, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
In accountability, yeah, that's definitely very important, especially a lot of people, right, they're doing business by themselves, so they don't have accountability, or really more importantly, they don't have community. And so that's one of the things I've learned in my entrepreneurial journey is people don't just want community, people literally need community. Like, God made us for community, right? You go back to Genesis 1, and there's God deciding, hey, I'm going to make a man. Why? Because I want community. I want fellowship. I want to do life together. So in business, it can get tricky because we decide we have to appear like we have it all together in our business. So we don't get into community. We don't get into accountability. And that's where we can easily make, mistakes. I just had this week a quarter budget review with one of my business partners and several team members. And that can be a humbling thing to sit there and look at your finances and say, oh man, we made some mistakes here, here, and here, which ultimately that comes down to me. But if I didn't have those accountability meetings where we're looking at those things, we wouldn't be able to see, okay, what's our blind spots? Where do we need course correct? Where we need to make some changes? And having the accountability and having that community allows you to have those things.
Yeah, Gar, you said that I want to revisit something you said earlier about entrepreneurship being a learning process. So tell me, what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned in business? And for anybody aspiring to be an entrepreneur, what do you think are three questions they should ask themselves before starting a business, my friend?
The biggest thing that I've learned in the entrepreneurial journey is that life happens for you, not to you. So you've got to understand that when you make a decision and it doesn't necessarily have the anticipated outcome that you have, That doesn't mean that you're not called into entrepreneurship. It means that you're learning, right? You're learning the processes, the systems, the rules, the principalities, the principles of business and entrepreneurial. All these things. It means you just need to sharpen your skill in whatever area that you feel like you're failing. But, and I write about this in my real estate story. I call it a wantrepreneur. You don't have a business, but you want to start one. And how do you know that you're a wantrepreneur? Well, it's you always have business ideas. You always have these ideas on how to improve something. Like you're thinking of new ways of other businesses. Like, man, if they did this like this, that outcome would make them more profitable. Or you're cooking with your spouse and you're like, man, I wish there was a tool that did this, right? You're always thinking of different ways to make things faster or better, or products or services. To me, that's one of the indicators that you're probably an entrepreneur. You're probably called into entrepreneurship, or you're just not satisfied with the 9 to 5 grind. You go and do your job, you come home, you turn on the TV, you order a pizza, you do these certain things, and you just feel incomplete. You feel like there's more to life. It's probably because you're called to be an entrepreneur. You're called to create. You're called to contribute. You're called to do more. So those are the couple of the indicators I would say of, hey, first of all, you're called to entrepreneurship. And then just a reminder, once you step into it, is if you make a decision, it doesn't have the intended result you thought it would. That doesn't mean you're not an entrepreneur. That just means that you haven't learned the thing yet. That means that you need to go out, you need to find the coach, you need to find the mentor, you need to find the model. And once you find those things, that's going to help you to build the systems and processes and stuff that help you become a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And Garr, tell me the role that faith plays in your life. You've mentioned Jesus a couple of times, and I know that you've had to rebuild your life from rock bottom. And how often did you lean on your faith, my friend? And tell me the role that faith plays in your life, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Faith is very integral part of the entrepreneurial journey of my life, of building back from having a bankruptcy, from almost having to file a bankruptcy again. It's been faith. It's been biblical principles. It's been my walk with the Lord. And most importantly, it helps to remind me where my hope is, right? I love that. Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for. And so many people talk about faith, but they don't talk about hope as much. But hope is where it all begins. And if you don't know where your hope is at the end of the day, if you don't have a hope in something more than the here and now, that can be very discouraging. And like Hebrews 6:19 says, I have this hope that's an anchor for my soul. And that hope is Jesus. And the thing I love about hope is when you have hope, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but you know that something is going to happen. Something good is going to happen. And when you have that hope, that begins to create expectation. And so, especially as an entrepreneur, right, when you have hope, like, hey, I don't know if this business is going to work out or this idea is going to work out, but I know something eventually will. When you have that hope, man, that's a driving force that can just continue to move you on and on and on. So I don't know how people do life, entrepreneurship, marriage, parenting, without having the hope, first of all, of Jesus, and then the hope that's presented, all the principles of the Bible, the Proverbs that are there.
Yeah, absolutely. Garr, I'm also curious to ask you about your sense of hope. When you hit rock bottom, my friend, what kept you going through the adverse times in your life, and how did you apply hope to your own life story, my friend?
Yeah, it was the hope. It was knowing that God will never leave me or forsake me, that He'll use all the things to teach me and grow me and equip me and make me a better man. So that is how I got through. It was, focusing on the Lord. Isaiah 26:3 is a very important scripture to me. And that scripture says, that he will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed upon me because he trusted me. And so knowing that, man, God, I can even screw up and make some bad decisions, but as long as I come to you and I can repent and say, Lord, I messed up, I made a bad decision, that you will not only reconcile me, but you'll restore me. And knowing that it's never too far gone. And even at the end of the day, too, no matter what we're going through, knowing that we have an eternal hope is so comforting to know, like, man, I could continue here on this earth and try and fail and all these things and be through all these ups and downs and journeys of life, but I have an eternal hope where there's no more pain in sickness, in all the things eventually someday. How can you not continue on when you have that kind of hope?
Yeah, absolutely. And Garr, I know that you're the father of 4 kids, and for better or for worse, you've been homeschooling them on the road, my friend. And I know that you have stories about adapting, thinking creatively, and leading teams across multiple states to find purpose through adversity, my friend. So tell me about raising kids on the road, homeschooling them, and your view on effective leadership, my friend. What do you want to share with me there?
Yeah, we homeschool our kids. We have ever since the beginning. And we full-time RV'd for 5 years with our kids. And, for us, it's all about, that's one of our greatest callings, is to parent and raise our children up to know the Lord, to go make an impact on the world. And so for us, we couldn't think of any better way to do that through being 100% invested in their lives, their schooling, doing life side by side with them, traveling, and literally just letting them see by our lives and how we talk and act and do things day to day. So yeah, that's been a huge blessing for us to be able to homeschool and travel. And I wouldn't have it any other way. The way that we've been able to have it, we've been very blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask you about practical stories of resilience and transformation in business in just a second, but I want to also ask you about how do you think modern parenting has changed today? Kids are under so much pressure, whether it comes from their peers or social media or just societal pressure in general. So how do you think raising kids has changed in the modern American way of sort of steering kids on the right path, particularly since you homeschool your kids, you must have a unique perspective in that regard. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts there, my friend.
Yeah, we were talking about this last night at a Bible study I'm in right now on parenting, and one of the biggest things, right, the pressures that kids have in regards to social media. It kind of like you say, modern parenting. I think that there's timeless principles. And one of them is, to help our children guard their eyes, to help our children guard their hearts. And so we have a rule in our home. We just don't have social media for our children. Once they're 18 and they're an adult, they're free to do that. One of the lies I believe that parents believe right now is, well, yeah, but we need to teach them how to use it responsibly. And, we don't want them to just leave the house and then be exposed to all of it. But that's the thing about it is, social media isn't created for an adult to use it responsibly, much less a child. How do you teach somebody to use it responsibly when there's algorithms in place to put certain ideas or thoughts or friend suggestions or information in front of children and lead them down a path? So, for modern parenting, I would encourage parents, go with your conviction of what is right or wrong. Don't go with the pressure of what other parents are doing in regards to mainly, social media, in dating and relationships. There's no rule that, you have to allow your child to date in under these. It's just you do what's best for you and your home, and also the biggest thing that we talk about in regards to parenting is the number one priority with our children is our heart connection, that they know that they can come to us and share life with us. If we don't have a heart connection with our children, but they're just following, the rules that we set out for them. If you don't have a heart connection, it's not worth it, because they're just doing what you need them to do while they're around you. And then when they're not around you, they're living a completely different lifestyle.
Yeah, and Garr, I'm curious to ask you about practical stories about business resilience, tenacity. What do you think it means to have modern success in today's business climate, my friend? What stories or anecdotes do you want to share with me in that regard?
Yeah, first of all, I'd say you got to define what success is for you, because, like, for me, success is my time. Number one, my time to invest and be with my wife and my children. And most times we measure success monetarily. So I would just encourage everyone listening to this. First of all, figure out, like, what is your definition of success. For me, it's I want to be able to do what I want when I want, without time stopping me from being able to do that. And so that's how I organize my business, my life, my schedule. So just to encourage everyone on that, figure out what is your definition of success, and then go from there. There's definitely nothing wrong with having a monetary value on how you determine success, but I would just challenge you with the question of, well, why? Why do you value a certain monetary level as your definition of success? Because most times we do that based on what the world defines as a level of success.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to ask you about your memoir, my friend, entitled My Real Estate Story Buddy, from Lawnmowers to RVs, which chronicles your entrepreneurial story of both success, faith, and failure, my friend. So tell me about the book, why you wrote it, and what you want people to get from it, my friend.
Yeah, my real estate story, it's all about my journey as an entrepreneur, starting from fifth grade. And it's about my faith, my failures, and the fun times. And one of the things that I really like about this book is sharing my failures, because as entrepreneurs, as just humans in general, right, we feel like we have to portray like we have things together. There's never been mistakes, this and that, especially in the business world. So I love sharing my shortcomings, because I think those shortcomings have the seed of encouragement that somebody would need when they're in that same situation, realizing, oh my gosh, Garr has been there, and look where he is now. And so, like it says in Revelation 12:11, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. I believe it's so important for us to share our testimony. And like one of my mentors says, you can't have a testimony if you haven't had a test. We have to have tests. We have to have trials. We have to have tribulations to have testimonies. Importantly, we have to share all those so that others can be encouraged and realize, oh, someone has been there, and they've been through it, and they're on the other side now. That gives me hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laura, I want your thoughts on this because according to a 2025 entrepreneurial source generation career confidence survey, 83% of Americans, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, view owning a business as a viable alternative to traditional jobs. They say things like career control 80% of the time, and overall job security that they can get from owning their own business by as much as 66%. And additionally, finally, 61% of American entrepreneurs view that business ownership is the greatest way to, guard from AI taking over their jobs, my friend. So I'm wondering your thoughts on those findings and Why do you think it's a great time to explore a career in entrepreneurship, my friend?
I've always said in regards to either being an employee or being a business owner, if you want control of your time, if you want control of your earning potential, if you want to know when you can go on vacation, uh, entrepreneurship is the way to go. And especially with the developments of AI right now, you can move so fast with building tools and systems and processes and all those things. Okay, I'm back. I had a sneezer.
All
And
right.
yeah, so with the development of AI, man, there's so much you can do to move fast, to get information, to figure out sales, marketing, all the things. And so I would encourage anyone listening to this, uh, man, if you're thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, now is the time to definitely start to look at that. And two, with the world of franchising, that I'm in, with the RV rental business, you could purchase into a proven system. So you can literally get into something where it's got all the frameworks and the community and the coaching and the mentors, all the models, everything is there for success. So it's so easy if you could literally just cut a check right now for success and speed, uh, do it.
Yeah, and just because I'm personally curious, I'm wondering about the key performance indicators and the KPIs that you look at from an RV rental perspective about, uh, targets that you want to meet, and how do you view success under your current business model, my friend?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about what we do is we're literally taking an RV that's sitting around doing nothing and we're turning it into an income producing asset for the owner, the franchisee. So I love it because it's such a low overhead opportunity. Our franchisees are literally taking RVs, grouping them together at a storage facility, car lot on their own property, and then they're facilitating the rental and doing the cleanings and deliveries and stuff. So it's super easy for the owner because it's something they already own that's now turned into an investment. Super easy for the franchisee because they're taking other people's assets and they don't have all the overhead of the space, the insurance, the payments, all that, and they're putting them to work and they're collecting a 50% management fee to do so. Such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Gar, I'm also curious to get your thoughts on the other side of the business spectrum because, as you call them, according to LinkedIn, 59% of entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs fear the fear of failure, my friend, and I say that holds them back from launching or starting their own business. So how do you think we can get entrepreneurs to convert or to bring entrepreneurs and lowering that 59% number? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, it's that battle of the mind. It's the faith over fear. It's the knowing that, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is you're going to make a decision. It's going to be a wrong decision, and you're going to learn from it. But I love the saying is if you don't quit, you win. Right? If you keep trying, you move on to the next thing, make the next choice, the next decision, pivot here, pivot there. If you continue on in the journey and you don't stop, then you don't fail because eventually, right, you win. But it's just being okay that, hey, I'm going to walk through this process of learning and knowing I'm going to make decisions. So people say, oh, I have this fear of failure. Okay, well, guess what? Don't worry about the fear because you will fail. You will make bad decisions. You will make the wrong decisions. But as long as you keep moving forward, eventually you're going to step into success. Eventually you will succeed.
Yeah, and talking about that business prosperity piece of it, according to 2026 a JP Morgan survey, they found that earlier this year that entrepreneurs in America are showing high confidence levels of their own confidence in their own business. 74 to 95% of those businesses who were surveyed, my friend, are expressing optimism about their business prospects and growth. So, does that give you confidence and encouragement about the future of entrepreneurship in America, my friend? I'm curious to get your thoughts on those findings as you hear about this study, my friend. What are your thoughts then?
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. And people are sick of building someone else's business with the advancement of AI. They're saying how quick jobs are being replaced, how quick they can be replaced, and how much really it's at the end of the day for their employer, it's a simple numbers, business decision, how they can be removed. So I love that people are stepping into entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs are more excited. And I think AI, has a lot to do with that. How they see how much faster they can move now, instead of a website or a marketing piece or a video that might take hours upon hours and days and weeks to develop can literally be done now in minutes. I can see how the excitement is increasing in the entrepreneurial journey because people are able to move so much faster now. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Gar, I know, as I mentioned before, your faith is very important to you. You can see that evident throughout this conversation. So I'm curious to ask you, what do you think needs to happen for people to restore their faith both in God and their own life journey, my friend? What are your thoughts on restoring, the credit in God and in our life journey? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
I think we set our expectations improper. So when something doesn't work out, people can feel like God has failed them, and then they lose hope. And so I would just encourage those who have walked through some sort of failure, sickness, divorce, job loss, whatever it is to literally get quiet, get with the Lord, in whatever lie you're believing based on that situation. Ask the Lord to show you the truth. Because, like I learned in my real estate story, how I wrote about, my dad, him laughing at me about, want $500 to buy mowers and this and that. What I learned later in life, literally just a couple of years ago, what the Lord showed me when I got quiet and got with Him on that, is He showed me that my dad was actually telling me, hey, go out and do it. Go out and learn the business. Go out and put in the work before you just go out and buy a bunch of mowers. But what had happened was my dad made a statement to me. I believed a lie for years. And it wasn't until I got with God and said, God, what happened here, that He was able to show me the truth. And like it says in John 8:32 through 8:36, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And that word truth in the Greek is actually the word reality. So when we get with God and we ask Him to show us the truth, He'll actually show us the reality. And we'll learn a lot of life's events that we interpreted a certain way are not the reality of what actually happened. And that can help us restore our hope in God, knowing that, man, God was always there. We just interpreted the information a certain way, and that can help restore hope and help restore faith.
Yeah, and I've got three questions left for you, Gar. And the first of those three questions is this. I asked you earlier about three questions that entrepreneurs should ask before starting their business. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because Gallup says that these are the top three questions that any entrepreneur should ask themselves before starting their business in order to validate their idea and personal commitment to the cause. What problem am I solving? How am I going to make money? And do I have the stamina or resources to keep going? And, do I have the stomach for actually doing this? So I'm curious if you agree with those top three questions and whether you would add any more, my friend.
No, I think that's great. I think that nails it right there. Yeah, what problem are you solving? What value are you giving to the marketplace? If it's a product or a service, what value are you bringing? Is there a need for that? And then yeah, I'd say the biggest one, right, is do I have the stamina, like you said, for this because you're walking through a whole even if you have a great process, product, service you don't see in the marketplace and can really serve people well, you still have to understand you're going to walk through a process of learning. Certain things are going to come easy to you. You might be really good at doing the thing or making the thing, but you got to sell the thing, right? Maybe you're an introvert, so you got to figure that out. Like, okay, am I either going to go through the hard process of learning to sell and overcome objections and not worry about fear of rejection, or am I going to find a partner that can do that piece of the business? And so, yeah, I think that number 3 is really important because, heck, you could find a product or service, number 1, that adds value to the marketplace, and there could be a bunch of people out there already doing it. But if you could do that at a better offer a better quality or serve better than others, well, then you have your unique angle to it. So I'd say number 3 is definitely the most important.
Yeah, and my second and last question to you, my friend, is this. So I'm a professional speaker by trade, and my speaking coach always tells me that it's important to listen to the market and really know your value proposition statement as a speaker. And I'm assuming that we can take those same tactics to business. So tell me about the importance of knowing your value proposition statement and listening to the market, my friend. How important do you think that is?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely important to know your customer and what they're looking for, and more important than that, know how to give them what they need instead of thinking what you're offering is what they need. And so there could be a pride factor in there where uh, your audience, right, in general is telling you, hey, this is what would serve us well, and knowing to be able how to do that. So I think that's very important for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carl, my final question for you has to do with fatherhood and legacy, and how do you want those two things to be interconnected? Because I know your faith, your family, and your entrepreneurial journey are 3 very important aspects of your life. And I'm someone who believes that we're all given a life compass, and it's incumbent upon all of us to sort of point it in the direction that we want it to go. So how do you want your life compass to point when it comes to life and legacy, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, for sure. My greatest legacy is, yeah, my children and their children, and I want it all to point to Jesus. I want my children to know God and to make Him known. I want my children to hear His voice. I want my children to be in tune with the world around them and people and their needs, and be sensitive to that. But yeah, most definitely, the businesses, all the different things we're doing, those all fade away, whatever. But to have my child that has a relationship with the Lord and then cares about those around them, to me, that's a good legacy right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Gar, tell me, what's the best part about living on the road? And tell me, if people want to get connected with the great work that you're doing, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
The best way to connect with me, if you go to garrussell.com, GARRRUSSELL.com, that's got a link to all my books. You can download any of them for free or click on the Amazon link to buy it. That's got the links to our different businesses, podcast, book me to speak, all the different things. And then the best part about living on the road is just the adventure of it, being able to, let's go here, let's stay here, let's head this way, let's head that way, and just not having all the day-to-day things that keep most of our days busy, and just being able to just be together and connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my friend, I want to thank you for sharing your inspirational and encouraging story with me this afternoon. And I think you're doing great work to inspire others to pursue a career as their own entrepreneur, and helping them sort of navigate their own definition of success. I really want to thank you for the work that you're doing and for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated, my friend.
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin.